again at Coming Enlightened Together. So we're doing another reading, and I'm entitling this one, basically recognizing your own self-worth for the Divine Feminine, or the Divine Feminine recognizing their own self-worth. Now, to be a Divine Feminine, again, to use a vernacular that we find within spirituality, especially tied to divination, more closely associated to tarot than to the runes. There are a lot of overlapping concepts, in these terms. So we see this in a lot of ways, where the goddesses were looked at as, in many cases, equals to their, male counterparts. In fact, some of them, they have attributes that exceed many of the masculine attributes in terms of, for example, magic. Magic was taught to the god Odin, the All-Father, by, Freya, who is, basically one of the highest of the, goddesses, so to speak, taught him, how to be able to see beyond things of that nature. So again, I'm trying to abstain from terminologies that those who have never studied Norse mythology would even know. So I'll just leave it at that. Just lump it all under magic and, the goddess by name and the god by name, so you understand better, okay? But what we're looking at here is the Divine Feminine, or somebody who's embodying that energy. And it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. To embody the Divine Feminine energy means that you're basically taking all four, of the queens in the tarot deck and embodying their energy. So you are very articulate, you are knowledgeable, you're stern, but you're also very loving, you're very kind, empathetic, you're not bad to look at. You're also energetically magnetic in terms of your aura. So animals are drawn to you, children are drawn to you. People seek your advice or just talk to you out of the blue, things of that nature. That and so many other attributes are associated to being a Divine Feminine, okay? So, and your intuition. You're able to basically see what others miss, okay? So if that is your energy, then take this in stride, but you have people that are watching you with a great deal of envy, malice, hatred, spite. They're giving you evil eye, and very potentially in some cases there is spell work being done against you, or even dark magic, black magic being used against you. Now, keep this in mind. When you're saying something like that, magic being used against you can be something as simple as somebody just, cursing your name, or that mother blanket or blank or whatever. I hate that blankety blank. In a way, that's doing the same type of thing, because you're putting out an emotion, you're embodying that emotion, putting that emotion forward, and you're directing it at a very specific target, i.e. you, the Divine Feminine. So it's very similar to somebody who's literally doing all the ritual work and everything else associated with that type of practice. So it could be either or, okay? Now, the overall energy for the week is that of Ewas. And Ewas is a very positive rune, talking about working together as a team, trustworthiness, loyalty, harmony, and everything else to get from point A to point B. And again, like the horse and the rider, or a driver and a vehicle, if either of those things are not working properly, or if they're out of sync one with the other, then it makes for a very difficult ride and a potential of never making it from point A to point B, and maybe even an accident along the way, something of that nature. And that's a crude way of trying to explain the energy that this embodies. But it also talks about more or less the positive aspect of that. So moving forward and doing it as a team, and harmony, and making forward progress and momentum. Also in other ways in your life, not just in a physical manner in terms of traveling from point A to point B, but really trying to make progress in some aspect of your life. Okay, so that's what it means. So It can mean something in terms of an ideal relationship, marriage, partnership, or something of that nature as well. And also, basically, confirmation beyond doubt of the following runes. Okay. So, what are the following runes? Well, our present energy is that of Perthro. Now, Perthro is a very positive rune in the upright. In fact, all of the runes, just like the last reading, are in the upright, and that never happens, especially with my readings. I get a lot of the karmic energy, generally speaking, because, there's been a lot of that in my life, I guess, so I'm the guy that has to get the bad news sometimes. But what Perthro talks about is it's like having a good lot or good luck. It's like games and gaming, dice cup, basically destiny. Talks about secrets. You don't know what's going to happen before it happens. Not really, even though you may be very intuitive and maybe even psychic. You may have more of an insight than most people do. So it talks about secret matters and hidden things. It talks about things such as occult abilities, initiations, and things that are usually done, in secret, kind of a thing. It talks about knowledge of future matters or events, or your own destiny for that matter, which a lot of us do have some insights about, right? We may not know every aspect of it, but we do have a picture that has been provided us, with our travel in this journey. So determining the future of your path is part of this. And it also talks about basically all things feminine, so to speak, feminine fertility, the vagina, feminine sexuality. It talks about, again, fellowship, joy, and evolutionary changes. So it follows very nicely with the overall energy of the week. Now, the challenge that we have is that of Thurisaz. Now, Thurisaz in this case is in the reverse. So even though this is a very positive reading, as I stated, you do have somebody that is filled with utter contempt for you as the divine feminine. They have tried to, they're secretly not only your haters, but also your greatest fans. You know what they say about, those who basically mimic or copy you are the ultimate form of flattery in a sense. Well, that's exactly what they've tried to do, but they cannot simulate what is not theirs. You are who you are because of genuine, just being who you really are, being genuine, I guess you could say. And as a result of that, their disingenuity, being disingenuine. Yes, here at this site, I do have a tendency to make up words. So forgive me for that, but I guess you get the overall gist of what I'm saying. So this is embodying somebody who's very stubborn, foolhardy, filled with lies, deception, somebody who is evil, somebody who has a great deal of malice, torment, somebody who's very spiteful, somebody who lies, not only to others on a regular basis, but even to themselves. And basically, they very potentially could be a rapist, which is not about sex in a lot of cases, or that's what they say, but they say it's more out of, other emotions that are closely tied to that. And, there's a fine line, if you're having, a very intimate relationship with somebody, it can be very, very aggressive at times. But the difference is, of course, you're being passionate, you're being loving, as well as being, maybe a little rough. I'll just leave it at that. So that's the difference between somebody who's, involved consensually and somebody who is taking something without consent. Okay. I shouldn't have to explain that. Everybody has an idea what rape is, right? But to sum it up, Thurisaz in the reverse, it talks about a very negative energy or person who, like I said, who has nothing but, discontent that they desire for your life. All that energy that they're sending out, whether it's in the form of some type of literal ritual magic, or it's just their slander and their harsh words and their, evil eye, things of that nature, are all coming back to them, and they are going to be revealed. So just stand firm in your convictions and moving forward. Now, our help and advice is that of K-ness. Now, K-ness is basically the torch, the flame, the inner knowing, the wisdom, things of that nature, clarity. It talks about your abilities and inspirations, creativity. It talks about technical abilities as well. Basically, it talks about strength and power and rapport. It's also talking once again about passion, lust, sexual love, and positivity. So there is a lot of sexual energy in this. And keep this in mind. Our sacral chakra or sex chakra is where our creativity comes from. It's what propels us forward to get things done. So we can use that in the form of, the way that we express ourselves physically with another, or how we're actually creating something else. We're creating a human being, or we're creating maybe a website, or some other type of art. Whether it's music or a painting or whatever the case may be, it comes from that same general location. Okay. All right. So that is the help and advice. So tap into that sacral chakra and use it, wisely. Okay. Now, as far as our future outcome is concerned, we have the rune of Analthus. Analthus 2 is in the upright. It looks like a cross with the horizontal cross beam slightly canted. It talks about the needs and necessities. That's what it is. It's the needs rune. Okay. So it talks about not only the things that we typically need in order to be productive and basically to sustain ourselves in the day-to-day. It also talks about how resistance, and so on, leads to greater strength. Again, it's like any type of wound that when it heals, it creates a scar, which is much harder to damage later on. It's the same thing with the things we're allowed to go through. Allow those things basically, to teach us, to strengthen us. Find the lesson in the things that you're going through, so that you don't have to repeat them, or in the event that sometimes things are forced upon you by others in particular, that you've already successfully navigated through this and you're able to get through it much easier than the first time. The first time is always the hardest. Okay. And that's kind of the energy that we're referring to here. So it talks about, having a sense of endurance, patience, and determination. And again, recognition of your own destiny or fate, as we saw in earlier, runes that I pulled out. It talks about having, the power for self-initiated changes that you feel that you need to make, and facing your fears. Again, standing in the face of whatever obstacle comes your way or whatever person comes your way. It doesn't matter. Okay? Be the warrior you're meant to be. It doesn't matter if you're fragile, you're in a wheelchair, whatever the case may be. Nobody can take away your dignity. You have to give it away. Don't allow them to do so. Do the right thing. Okay? That's basically the end of this particular reading. Again, short and sweet, and hopefully it was, a blessing to somebody out there. If you're watching it, there's something or some part of it that was meant just for you. But that doesn't mean that all of it is for, everybody who watches it, okay? There are parts, definitely, that belong to you. Claim those parts. Those which are not resonating with you or don't feel that they are part of your journey, then you don't have to accept them, okay? That's the way this works in terms of a general reading. So, anyways, that being said, stay victorious out there, and someday in the distant future, I'll see you all in Valhalla, and we'll slay ourselves some giants, okay? Take care. God bless.